Hello everyone and welcome back to My Hero Academia Podfics. Today I'm going to be continuing with Chapter 3, which is Part 3 here of The Coffee Shop Hero. This chapter is entitled Coffee Makes the World Less Dark. Shota Aizawa rarely woke up relaxed, used to nightmares from his more difficult cases that intensified after the USJ, and Shota was sure it'd take weeks for his nerves to settle. Screams of his students, cracking bones, and darkness made a cacophony of his dreams. So imagine dreaming of nothing but green fields, coffee, and unicorns. Yes, there was definitely a high-pitched voice singing about a friendly unicorn somewhere. Opening one eye, Shota found himself not in his apartment, or a demented cartoon, judging by the still singing voice, but in the dim coffee shop, Izuku busy brewing coffee. Ugh, Shota managed, realizing he was wrapped up in a rather well-crafted crocheted blanket, and a weird weight was on his head. He tried to move, but bandages prevented it. Still, that horrid voice kept singing. Izuku looked up, noticed his predicament, and walked over, smiling. Before long, he felt the weight taken off, and the world became quiet again. Ah, there you are, Shota-san. You slept a good 12 hours. I was just about to open shop. Eri should be down soon. You should thank her. Not just anyone is allowed to use her headphones. Izuku held up the offending things, drawing a groan from the older man. However, it was short-lived, as once he was given coffee and a piece of toast. Izuku just smiled as his guest got up, folding the blanket lovingly. Eri bounded down the stairs, squealing when she saw the scene. "Nii-san! Shota-san, good morning," she chirped. Izuku snorted when he saw her hair, once again growing out, sticking up everywhere. "Eri, come here, you wild child. You can't greet our customers like this," he tisked, and started the long process of brushing and braiding her hair. When he heard a snicker, he sent a baleful look at the couch. "Remember whose couch you slept on for free," he reminded. "Problem child," Shota seemed to accuse. It wasn't his fault his friends left him, or that Eri put those cursed headphones on him. Seriously, did Problem Child coordinate all of her possessions to be annoyingly adorable? "Yes, Shota-san? You have class in 2 hours. You should get going." The door chimed, cutting off their conversation, and in walked Tanaka Gigi. "Welcome. Your usual, I presume?" "Ah, young Izuku. Yes, dark roast with 2 sugars, as always." Shota slipped out silently as more customers started funneling in, and Eri waved goodbye. Days pass, and with it Izuku notes the upcoming sports festival. In past years, he would bring the television downstairs and have it play for the shop. Customers would flock that day, and it was always fun to serve specialty treats in celebration. Eri spent the entire time last year jumping around like a rabbit when they watched some second-year Mirio Togeda, Izuku recalled, blast away the competition. That was until the idiot lost control of his quirk and subsequently his pants right as Eri looked over. Izuku had to resist flaming the UA student to oblivion on his blog for it, though he was grateful the pantless wonder never showed up at his shop, even if Eri insisted on meeting him. "Eri, what are you doing?" he asked a week before the festival, as his sister had an entire table overrun with paper and colors. It was break, so he didn't mind the mess, but her artistic tastes tended to leave a lot of interesting messes. "Oh, I'm making Kirishima-san and Toshi-san some cards to tell them to do their best and to win the festival," she said seriously. Izuku quirked a brow. "Really? But only one can win the festival." That stopped her. She scrunched up her face for a few moments. Then she grinned. "Then I'll tell the festival to let there be 2 winners, Eri decided. "Eri, that's not how it works." "And why not?" "Because that's not how it works." "Why?" "Because there can't be more than one first place." His patience was really being tested. "But why?" "Because, Eri, you know what? Never mind. Talk to Shota-san when he comes with the others tonight. Maybe he'll change the rules for you." Izuku gave in finally, not wanting to have another argument. Eri hummed happily and resumed her work with a soft smile. Izuku turned back to his personal project, the League of Villains. So far, Izuku had created an analysis of their quirks, psychological profiles, and the beginnings of possible areas their base of operations could be. However, the supposed leader, Shigaraki Tomura, bugged him. The man clearly didn't have enough charm to actually be the leaders, and he was so obviously a puppet. So why then was whoever was actually in charge allowing a loser, to be honest, run his organization? Something didn't add up, and it was driving Izuku's need for answers up the wall. The rest of the afternoon is spent giving service to their few customers and watching Eri continue her efforts. By the time 6 came around, she had made cards for the teachers as well. Secretly, Izuku sighed, knowing all the glitter she added would be a pain to clean that evening. But unable to bring himself to make her stop, customers loved watching the bright child create in a corner table, so who was he to stop her on a slow day? "Yo, listeners, we need some serious caffeine and treats." A familiar mop of blonde hair shrieked. Most of the usual crowd, does coming twice as a group count as usual, Izuku mused, sauntered in with tired smiles from preparing for the next week. Mumzawa grumbled as he came in, still looking like he belonged in a tomb despite the obvious improvements. "Problem child," Shota greeted. "You know, I'm not a child, Shota-san. I do own a business," Izuku deadpanned while carrying a tray filled with cups of coffee and tea. The tables were filled, though Snipe seemed a bit weirded out by the glitter on Eri's former base. Thankfully, she was upstairs, washing her hair after paint got in it somehow. "Despite those stupid laws, you're still a child to me," Shota shot back while lifting his cup. "Those stupid laws let you get the best coffee in this city every morning," the green genius pointed out, and Nomuri chimed in. "Yeah, but, Izukun, you don't want a normal teenage life? You know, high school and girls," she teased. Cementos slapped a hand over his mouth. It wasn't a secret amongst the staff that Midnight thought she could get Izuku a girlfriend from UA before he turned into a prude. Well, more than he already was. President Mike had heard from Eri that he was still griping about the Mirio boy and his birthday suit mishap. "I haven't been in a physical school since I was 10. School wasn't the kindest place for me," Izuku admitted. A blind man Izuku was used to came in eagerly, accepting his to-go order of cookies and jasmine tea, leaving in the time it took the UA staff to gather their thoughts. They didn't seem to want to address the elephant in the room, so instead Midnight pointed to the laptop resting on a shelf by the register. "Hey, you don't normally have that thing in here. Are you doing another one of your secret projects?" Everyone perked up at that, though their various solo and group visits, they all found something that really made them curious about Midoriya. His projects, mutterings, whispers about heroes or villains. "Perhaps," he said with the same cryptic smile he always did. What a cryptic bastard, several of the staff thought, just wanting to know what even went on in his head. "You're here," an adorable squeal said from the door in the back, and rushed President Mike, hugging him. Somehow he had become her unofficial favorite, and Izuku doubted it had to do with the merch he'd sneak her. In her hand was the messy pile of cards. "What's this, little listener?" Hizashi asked. "A gift for all of you." She passed each of the heroes a personalized card, much to their delight. She even had one for Yagi-san, who could only sip on some light tea as he coughed up blood. It didn't deter the child, however, and she smiled at him all the same. It made him proud, knowing his sister could look past the outside scars to see the beauty of a person. While they gushed over him, were those rocks glued to Cementos's card? Izuku turned his attention to a sullen-looking man in his 30s, nursing a cup at a table. "You know, they say that stewing over a problem on an empty stomach just makes it worse," Izuku pondered quietly and sat down a croissant stuffed with turkey in front of the coffee. The man looked up, slightly puffy eyes, and rumpled a business jacket. "I can't accept. I can't pay for this," he insisted with a sniffle. Izuku only smiled. "It's on the house. I just find letting good food go do its work and make things easier face to face. I lost my job 6 months ago, but I couldn't tell my wife. We have 3 children, so I've been trying to find work anywhere, but our savings ran out, and no one wants to hire a quirkless man with a degree in fashion, a useless skill," he said dejectedly, and Izuku felt for him. "Truthfully, I can't even pay for this coffee. I just stumbled in after I failed again." "Well, maybe life will start to look up soon. Who knows? Maybe tonight you'll get a job offer or something will fall into your lap," the brunette said with a wink, ignoring the scoff from the man. "Either way, enjoy the coffee on the house as well before you leave." "Yeah," the bewildered man said. No one but Shota noticed Izuku slip out, everyone, including the few regulars, absorbed in their drinks and company. He went through the back way that connected him to the tailor shop 3 stores down, knocking on the entrance to the store's back room. Knowing Kurama-san would still be working, Izuku smiled at the slightly annoyed man as he answered the door. "What do you want, Midoriya?" he grouched, though, to be fair, he was like that with everyone. Ever since his wife died years ago, the man worked to the bone alone, as Most didn't want to be under a man who could snip at you with scissors for fingers. Rumors were they could go through steel. I need a favor, Izuku asked bluntly. A certain man that in a rough spot that needs a job and... No, Lee cut him off. He has a degree in fashion, Izuku continued, like the interruption didn't even happen. So, some goody two-shoes, fashion hotshot? No, he's quirkless. And why does that matter? He has 3 kids at home, and they're desperate. I'm sure he'd work very hard, Izuku promised. Lee seemed to contemplate it before shaking his head. I don't want to waste my time paying somebody who has to be taught the ways of my store's style, nor care for any sob stories. Find someone else. This caused Izuku to clench his fist, but he still pulled out the envelope that normally rested in a secure safe. Here's 3 months' wages for him. Pay him off of this, so you get free labor, essentially. If he doesn't perform after that time, or if he's scared of your quirk, you can fire him. Just give him a chance. This could be his only hope. Ugh, fine. You annoying Midoriyas never know when to keep to your own business. Lee threw his hands up in the air and grabbed the thick envelope. You going to introduce us? Just look for a rumpled suit and tired brown eyes coming out of my shop soon. What's his name, at least? Not a clue, Izuku admitted with a shrug. Oh, and Lee-san. Shiny yet poisonous green eyes met wrinkled gray ones. Yes, Pest? Don't tell him about this conversation. The air grew thick before suddenly breaking Izuku into a smile. Okay? Yeah, all right. Never would Lee admit those eyes terrified him since Inka Midoriya discussed him not smoking in the shop years ago and forced him to become clean. Arriving back to the shop to hear President Mike fail at singing the U.S. national anthem to Eri, everyone else covering their ears, Izuku slipped in unnoticed, waving goodbye to the still dejected man. He hoped his life turned out well and that one day he'd be able to drink the Midoriya coffee with happy eyes. Shota-san, change the rules for the festival, Eri suddenly pipes in, bringing Izuku back to reality with a bark of laughter at the poor man's predicament. Yeah, Shota, can't the oh-so-great teacher of 1A change the rules? Vlad King snickered, bringing some sort of rivalry into the conversation. Asahi Rei was one of the many poor saps desperately needing work. Being quirkless didn't used to be too bad when he was in college, so he went after his dreams, only to fail. Instead, he got an office job, only to lose it when the new CEO did major cuts 6 months later and nothing. Asahi wondered if perhaps he should have begged the coffee shop for a job. Then, again, the brat probably just took pity on him and gave stupid, empty condolences. It's not like the jerk gave him a job or anything. Working at a coffee shop wouldn't be too bad, but the kid probably didn't want someone quirkless for their liabilities. Insurance companies held higher rates for businesses with quirkless people because of them being weak in accidents. Walking down the road 2 shops down, a tailor's. How lovely. An old man struggled with a box. Well, you going to help, brat? The man demanded after Asahi stared at him for a minute. With a start, he hurriedly picked up the box and carried it inside. After it was done, he turned to the door to leave, spotting a helped wanted written in Sharpie on a napkin taped to the door. It was a sloppy job if Asahi ever saw one. Sir, he gulped and tried to point to the sign. The man grunted. You're hired. Be here at 6 a.m. sharp or I'll fire you. What? Asahi shrieked, not catching on. Oh, what's your name for paperwork? Asahi Rei, sir, but before you hire me, he winced at his honesty. I'm quirkless. A beat of silence met him. Asahi half expected an apologetic dismissal. So, doesn't matter if you're quirkless, or if All Might's stupid-ass quirk manifested in you. Just show up at 6 a.m. or else. Yes, sir. Asahi bowed, true happiness in his heart. Who knew that stupid kid with the coffee shop could tell fortunes? Maybe that's his quirk. Soon it was time to bid goodnight, with Eri asleep upstairs and all tabs closed. Izuku and the very done Shota Aizawa were the last ones in the shop, Shota drinking a jelly packet while Izuku cleaned. You went out, Shota said casually. And did something about that man. I have no idea what you mean, Shota-san. Izuku batted innocent eyes, and Shota snorted. Yeah, and Hizashi can sing. Dual shudders ran up their spines at the memory of him singing tonight. Eri is looking forward to watching the festival. You commentating, right? Change of topics. Success. Unfortunately, by the way, here, 2 tickets hit his face, and Izuku looked at the very expensive VIP passes for the festival. We requested for those to be given out so you could go. I know you'll like getting an up-close and personal look at how your analysis improved my students' quirks so far." He mumbled the last part. Tears sprung to Izuku's eyes. "Shota, I can't accept these. You know that these cost so much. Besides, I have a shop to run." "Just come for the third round. It starts at 3. You can have your morning earnings and then get out for the afternoon. Also, Nezu wants to meet you. He's the one that approved the tickets. He'll be coming with us here next time, so be cautious about Takeru." That made Izuku pause. While it wouldn't be too bad if the super intelligent mammal knew about Takeru, he honestly didn't want that kind of attention on his family. If Nezu went through one of his famous spells of digging into every crevice of what intrigued him, Izuku didn't want to know what he would be able to dig up on Eri or his past. While the papers would be more likely to stand up to scrutiny, there was always a really low chance of them not. "Very well, then, I'll welcome him in like any other guest," Izuku finally monotoned. This caused the older man's eyebrow to raise, but he dropped it. He waved and left the boy to his cleaning. Going through old boxes shouldn't make his lungs this filled with dust, Izuku decided. But Izuku wanted to pull out some photos of their family for her online school's family tree project. His mother had an old scrapbook filled with photos of her family, and various friends she made. Izuku never bothered to look through it. In his mind, it was always him and his mother. His father left and grandparents disowned him. Why should he ever bother to look at their faces again? Old gun safety manual, bike handle, a dented kettle. Ah, the book! Izuku cheered. He wiped off the cover and began to flip through it. Planning on just grabbing a few pictures each, page after page were sappy childhood ones of his mother. She was really beautiful, even then, to her adult life. Nothing unusual until the one picture shook his foundation. There was his mother, at what appeared to be her wedding, getting a dance with a familiar body of suit and purple mist. Just to be sure, he looked at the back to see the names of the people in the photo. Midoriya-chan and Kurogiri-kun having a dance of friendship at the lovely Inko's wedding. Blood ran ice cold. What was his mother doing dancing with one of Japan's most wanted? The next day was Shinso's day to work before the festival, something Eri was ecstatic about. She was spending the day making her own analysis book, like Izuku's, in preparation. It apparently had to have stickers on every page. To be honest, the greenette was glad she was upstairs while he stayed mainly in the back. Shinso ran the front, though it was a rather slow day. After finding that photo, Izuku hadn't had time to look into it more as the shop and Eri's school demanded him, meaning troubling thoughts loomed in his head. Logically, he knew his mother, knew some people, but those were distant things, people he never really cared about or affected his life negatively. But Kurogiri was someone who tried to kill Aizawa, Shinso, and Kirishima. The man helped run what was becoming one of the most dangerous organizations in the underground, if dark web chatter were to be believed. His thoughts grew darker, wondering if his mother ever did a favor and received one from him, or if their coffee shop was possible because of that man. His thoughts were pushed aside as he put on a fake smile, bringing fresh cookies to the display counter. No one was in the shop except Shinso, who looked downtrodden. "What's wrong?" Izuku asked, keeping the sigh out of his voice. He just wanted to tear into every file from his mother's old workplaces and find out what Kurogiri had to do with anything. "Nothing, boss," Shinso flustered, but gave in at the unimpressed raised eye. "It's just that my quirk." "It's an excellent quirk, yes. To you, but what about the festival? We have to compete in front of thousands, with all the pros looking for talent. What happens when they see my quirk and they think I'm a villain in the making? That I'll use it on them and not a bad guy?" "They won't," the greenette said simply. "You don't know that, boss. It's always happened in the past. Even in Aizawa's class, there have been a few vocal ones. I have friends now, but I still don't want the world against me." "Shinso-kun, look at me," Izuku ordered, making their gazes meet. The past is the past. Don't let someone's past, even your own, overshadow the present. Will there be mockers? Yes, everyone is human. We all make mistakes and have dark patches on our souls from our past. Even All Might, I bet. But that doesn't mean everyone let those dark patches define them. If you go out there with your head held high and be a hero, most people will look past your quirk's surface-level potential and see the hero inside I know you are, that Eri and Kirishima knows you are. By the end, tears are starting to fall down the purple-haired boy's cheeks, and he nods. "You're right, boss. I'm going to show them that I'm a hero." That's the spirit, Izuku praises, before leaving the shop for a quick errand, somehow head feeling a little lighter. Though he did still have to research his mother's connection with Kirigiri. It could be a lead. But no matter how his shop came to be, it was still the same place, a meeting spot for those in tough spots needing guidance and a good cup of coffee. Oh, and cookies, of course. This concludes Chapter 3 of The Coffee Shop Hero. Really enjoying this AU so far. I just love coffee shop AUs. I always think they're usually so peaceful and they're just inviting. I don't know what it is. But I'll get the next part of this uploaded as soon as possible. Again, as always, let me know your thoughts and reactions to this fic and any recommendations you have for any other ones you want to hear. Thanks so much.